What's up? What's the word?
Shout out to Kim K, man. She proud. She is really making me proud. Okay, well, so Hannah, we have you on here. We're gonna bring Muhammad Bilal on as well, so that we can talk about this film that we kind of been dibbling dabbling talking about throughout today's show. So we've been talking about Perdido, which is a film based on Chicago black men mental health. We all were at the film screening on Saturday, so we were able to see the film. Hi, Muhammad.
How you doing?
Hi.
I'm
Hey.
good. Muhammad Bilal is the director of the film. He's actually also one of the actors in the film. Hannaha also acted in the film as well. So Muhammad, just kicking it off, can you just give us a brief synopsis about what Perdido is about?
I'll give you guys a log line. Keep it real brief. Perdido is a film about an African American man who reluctantly seeks therapy when suppressed memories from his past are triggered by a tragic encounter with the police. So it really focuses on a black man who basically is having a mental breakdown and how he eventually has to turn to therapy to try to unpack it all to get control of his life again. So we really follow him on this journey. I try to use the cinematography to immerse the audience into the experience and the sound and everything else, so you kind of feel what he's feeling. But in a nutshell, we're really trying to use this film to encourage Black men to prioritize their mental health.
I know I was talking to Hannah earlier, and one of the questions that I was asking a lot of people were like, "What were your initial feelings after watching the film?" And she was like, I was a little triggered," and I was like, I've seen the film like 3 times, and I got triggered in different ways every time. Even talking to Jayy Marie, who was there as well, she was saying like, there were some scenes that kind of touched home for her. So, do you feel like as a director that's giving you like a job well done? Do you feel like that's kind of like, well, I didn't want everybody to get triggered by it, or like what's your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, it sounds kind of twisted, but yeah, I'm happy about that because that's what I wanted. I wanted you guys to feel what Amir was feeling. So if you're watching it in an auditorium or a theater, you're feeling the loud music, like the heartbeat. It's kind of shaking and rocking you, and even the way he sees things, the way he's perceiving things. I wanted the audience to really feel that. So as disturbed as he is, I wanted you all to be on that journey with him and be immersed in that experience. So if you didn't feel triggered, I would feel like I didn't do my job with having you experience what someone who has a mental illness is experiencing. So everything was intentional that you saw. I kind of wanted some points for you to feel what you felt without, spoiling the movie.
How would you say, because I know you worked closely with therapists on, just getting bringing that authentic feel to the movie. How important was that for you to have work with actual therapists who, I know one of them specifically dealt with PTSD and all of that. How important was that for you?
Well, for me, I wanted to make it really authentic because the last thing you want is for experts in that area to call it, that's crap. That wouldn't happen like that. So I had to draw a line. So I talked to a lot of therapists, but at the same time, I didn't want it to be a film that's just for therapists where the average person would look at it and say, what the hell are they talking about? So I wanted it to be real, but still accessible to people who don't have a PhD or, a master's degree in therapeutic counseling or mental health counseling. Um, but Dr. Jacobs in particular, though, I know you're speaking to, he watched it 4 times, he said. And him being this renowned therapist, he thought it was spot on, and I didn't even talk to him before.
Wow.
But to me, I felt like that was a job well done. That one of the I think he's a board chairman right now at NAMI National. He said it was really real, and he was someone who has gone through PTSD. So to me, it made me feel like we did a good job, me and the whole team, with showing what that's like and what that journey is like. So it felt good to make something authentic and something that someone who experienced some of the issues in the film said it was spot on.
Mm.
And also speaks to how good the actors are.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
capturing some of this stuff.
The
What?
cast was really good.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
What
And them, they did that. I just, I just said action.
What made you choose the, like, when we're talking about specifically PTSD and the mental, like a lot of, like you said, a lot of black men, a lot of the trauma that comes with the PTSD and just the, being diagnosed and all of that. What made you choose the aspect of surrounding it around police brutality versus, a lot of the times, especially here in Chicago, a lot of our kids who grow up in the inner city in the streets have PTSD, but not necessarily from, well, with police brutality, but also with the gang violence, with the, stuff that comes with being in the streets. What made you choose that aspect of police brutality as the way to like tell this story?
Well, so a lot of stuff I write about is stuff that affects me. That's what gets me inspired to write. So I wrote a lot about what I was going through in 2020 when we were all stuck in a house, seeing looping images of police brutality, right? And there's a lot of things that I've gone through in my life that I haven't necessarily dealt with. But I think watching police brutality, especially if you're a black person, a person of color, it does something different to us because we're seeing people who look like us,
Mhm.
and I think it threatens our sense of safety. So for me, it was like I already had my own mental health issues, and on top of that, I'm seeing this stuff constantly that's making a lot of stuff, making me re-experience a lot of stuff. So I picked that in particular because that's what was going on, and for me, like writing, filmmaking is kind of therapeutic for me. you know so that's what I was feeling as a black man looking at all this stuff. So I wanted to kind of put it in the script. That's what was influencing me. But then also, as I looked at the research, most Americans are experiencing PTSD vicariously. You don't have to be going through it. You can just be watching it, and you're going through something. So I think the gang violence is something I think is affecting people in Chicago and different parts of the country. But I felt during 2020 when I wrote the script, everybody was seeing the police brutality. You couldn't escape it. It was everywhere you looked. It was on the TV. And what we mostly was doing at that time, we was in a house watching TV, and you were seeing George Floyd and all these images of black bodies being brutalized around the country constantly.
Hey, Hannah, I had a question for you because I know I think when we were talking on the red carpet, I think I asked you like what part of the script was it that kind of wanted you to be involved in the project?
Are you asking me that question? I'm not. I think your
Yeah.
question was what did I want the audience to take away?
Okay, well, yeah. So, what part of the film was it after you like read the film, read the script? What part of
That
it was like the point where you were like, okay, I want to be a part of this?
So, I am very passionate and I'm an advocate about the importance of mental health, but I think more so my ministry is healing. Like, I'm very adamant about people seeking their healing, which essentially correlates with mental health. So, just knowing that I knew what type of effects this film would have, and it'll, essentially, I would think, Muhammad, your objective is so people can have awareness and
Hmm.
then take action to get the healing, because that's the process. When you go to a therapist and you choose to make this decision to go through therapy, that's healing. You're
Right.
going through a healing process. So for me, I just felt connected in that way more than anything. Not that I'm disassociating myself with mental illness, because it does correlate. But
Hmm.
healing, healing, healing. I think people need to be acknowledge that they need it, and then take action to get it.
Oh,
Well said.
girl, my sound is going in and out. Sorry, y'all. Also, I wanted to ask, within that healing, I do know, without telling the movie, towards the end of the movie, there are parts where it's like there is healing, but then we see more trauma, and then we see, you heal certain parts of yourself, and you feel like maybe I'm healed all over, but then you get into another situation all over again. So, what was it that made you in the movie that way? Instead of just, I feel like in a normal movie about mental health, there would be some type of like, we'll just end on a great
I'm
note.
healed. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like, I'm healed, or I'm starting my healing process. The world is great. It's sunshine and roses. But this movie, we kind of got a little bit of both.
I think that's reality. But keep going. I'm sorry, Muhammad.
Oh, was that for Hannah or me?
Yeah.
Both. Both of y'all can answer.
Oh,
Okay.
go ahead, Hannah.
Well,
You go first.
you sure me first? Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's reality. I think that's the most realistic perception that you can give people is that it's good to hear people the good endings, the happy endings, but the reality is healing does take time. All of this stuff takes time. You think all your upbringing, all the experiences you had from your upbringing is going to be over from like a 2 month therapy session, 2 months of therapy sessions? No, that isn't realistic. So I think the fact that it's showing progress, that gives hope, but then it's also giving you that ambition to keep going because there is more work to do it until you really really have peace with yourself and you see the effects of it, because even though he went and he started his healing process, he came home and his wife wasn't there, so there's still issues to be tackled. But go ahead, Muhammad, I'm gonna let you.
Don't spoil it,
I
Hannah.
was gonna say I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry, y'all. Look, spoiler
I think
alert,
we can bleep it
spoiler.
out. I think we can bleep it out. It's
Yeah, bleep,
okay.
bleep that out, please.
I'm sorry.
Well, for me, I actually changed the ending. I agree with you, Hannah, but I changed the ending for some of those reasons. But then also, I felt it was more valuable in the story to show that mental health is like it's a journey. It's like staying in shape with your muscles. You don't go to the gym, get your six pack and say I'm done. I'm never coming back. I'm gonna just start eating whatever I want. It's like you got to stay with your mental health. It's not just one and done. I fix one problem, I'm done. And I just feel like I wanted to show in the movie like there's always going to be some type of trigger. Mental health should, I mean, it will help you have the tools to deal with it. Okay, you've done the work in mental health. Now you got another trigger. So how are you going to handle this trigger? I felt that was more realistic to real life. But then I also say accountability. And we go through this with some people, with our parents, people we've been in relationships with, friends. Just because you went along and you got healed doesn't mean that you didn't do damage or cause trauma to someone. So just because you're good doesn't mean that they're good. And there's still work that needs to be done to repair that relationship. Like my father, there's things he did and didn't do. Now he's done his healing journey, but with me and some of my siblings, he still has work to do.
Mhm.
So just because he got his healing done doesn't mean that we're ready to forgive and let everything go. So I wanted to show that you're still accountable for things that you do while you was going through your mental health struggles. And then, there's the business. When you do a short, you kind of want to leave people hanging so they want more. So you can hopefully make it into a feature. So if you close it off where it's like, oh, that's done, so I would be dishonest if I didn't say that. It's the business. You want people to want to see more of the film so you can get the support to turn the short into a feature movie.
What would you say to people, specifically men of color who don't want to see therapists because majority of that field you have to speak to someone of Caucasian descent who may or may not understand. I've heard it plenty of times, like I'm not going to therapy because they're not going to understand what I'm dealing with. What would you say to that? Because I think it hinders a lot of men from actually taking that step to get the healing that they need.
That's a very real thing. And I've gone to therapists who have not been of color.
Mhm.
And sometimes I find that they're more intrigued with my story than they want to help me. They're more fascinated with my resilience.
Mm-hmm.
That you still went on to be successful and you went through this. You still talk to your mother after that happened. So it's like, are you helping me or am I like a case study or something like that? And then sometimes they just don't relate. So a lot of explaining has to happen. Whereas if you see somebody who has a similar background, and I tried to show this in the movie because, the doctor's Latino, Amir's
Mhm.
black, right? But still they're able to relate. But I feel like this is why I did the event. I wanted to kind of connect people with organizations that they could use any place in the world. Like we had Latino mental health organizations, we had Black mental health organizations. So to help people find that the therapist that they could relate to. So I was really intentional about doing that in the event we had. So I would encourage people to reach out to those organizations or even Google. There's even websites that I Googled where they will connect you with a mental therapist that's Black or Latino. So with the resources out there, they don't necessarily have to go to a white therapist. I'm sure there's some white therapists who would work well for them, but I do encourage people to get therapists who look like them. So I would encourage them to do that. Like you could do a Google search, or you could search specific organizations that are people of color, therapists of color, if you will.
So I do know that unfortunately this film can't pop up on my Netflix or my Hulu just yet.
Not
Um,
yet.
Not yet, but we are. Well, you are showing it at a couple of film festivals coming up.
Oh, we're gonna be at a lot of film festivals. So now it's time to get on the festival circuit. So I'll be announcing on Instagram and everywhere what festivals it'll be going to. But yeah, we're gonna get into some big festivals. So that really dictates where it goes from there, how it does on the festival circuit. But you guys were there. Y'all saw the audience. I think it's gonna do well.
Oh yeah, it was
Yes,
packed
it
out.
was amazing.
People on the south side just don't stand up and clap for anything. Like you really got to do that.
Okay, we were outside.
You
I
really got
enjoyed it. Yes,
because I
Chicago.
was a little shocked. I'm like, oh, they standing up. Okay, let me get up too. Because you never know how it's going to be received. But yeah, we definitely going to get in some big festivals. So now is the time for the festival circuit, and I definitely will be announcing what festivals we'll be at. But we definitely going to be in New York, LA, Chicago, Atlanta, all the big cities with the film.
Yes, and continue to let What's the Word know so we can keep supporting and letting our audience know where they can find the festivals when they come back to Chicago or the surrounding areas. Our boss commented and said this was a great conversation. So thank you, Muhammad
Oh,
and Hannah, for making it
Thank you.
great.
thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you. And Muhammad, let everybody know where they can find you on socials.
Oh yeah, so Bilal World Entertainment on IG. It's one word, Bilal World Entertainment, and then they could follow me at Real Muhammad Bilal, also on Instagram. So I'll be posting everything about upcoming festival screenings for this particular film, which they want to see. I mean, what did you all think about the film?
I watched it. I watched it like twice. So I had I enjoyed it. I was triggered by a couple of things. Well, I don't want to so much say triggered, but it really just brought awareness to certain things that I've experienced. And it kind of just made me feel like, okay, I thought it was the situation we just talked about. Like I thought, I kind of healed from one situation, but then there's other parts of me that still needs that healing that I have to go through that process of healing on. So yeah, I currently like reconnected with my better health therapist. So yeah, it
Okay.
worked.
And if I can ask one more question to Hannah, how did it feel seeing yourself? I don't think I asked you that.
You know, it's always difficult for me to watch myself. I like to do it in private just so I can, I'm very meticulous and we're our biggest critics. So there were times I kind of, had a moment. I don't want to see it right there. But, taking in the film as a whole, like I said to them earlier, it's such a powerful film. I appreciate the art of storytelling in every way. And whether something is going to trigger you or not, the fact that you have a reaction is important.
Mhm.
And, like you said, Bree, it makes you kind of self reflect on what you're going through and what you can do. And then also, it can kind of comfort you too. So, we all go through things. So, just seeing someone else have a relatable experience, we just have more understanding of ourselves. And it can work either way, but in most times you expect it to work in a positive way where you say, let me do something about it. If they can do something about it, let me do something about what I'm going through, and bring change to your life and healing to your life. So
I also think it helps you understand other people more as well. Because there was a guy when Jay Marie was sitting next to me. There was a guy next to me, and he was just bawling the
Really?
entire. Yes, and I think he was part of the cast because I was sitting down with the cast. He was crying the entire movie.
Wow.
oh
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
heard
I
that a
think
lot. I didn't see that because I was just in a different headspace with everything going on with the event. But I was hearing a lot of people in the audience was crying during the movie. Wow.
Yeah, I definitely think that it gives you the opportunity to self reflect, but I think it even showed so many different aspects of healing, the childhood healing, the adult healing, the healing that's going to come from the people that you were affected, that that person affected. I think it also gives you a good aspect of a better understanding of what people go through when they're dealing
Hmm.
with mental health, because a lot of the times men don't always tell us women how they feel. So to see the other side of it, and like what that's like for men to go through those things and not feel like they can tell anyone because they feel like they got to shoulder everything and keep everything in. I think it was an eye opener for me, as far as like just understanding that aspect of things from a man's point of view.
Hmm.
But also, even I'm raising two boys, so like understanding that eventually they will get to a place where, I hope that I can give them the tools to be able to express themselves. So even like, looking at it from a point of view of like before anything gets there, to help give them those tools before they, become a man and they feel like they can't say anything.
Right.
So yeah, it was a
Yeah,
great
'cause the conditioning, and I tried to show this in the film. To your point, it starts when you're really young, especially for
Yeah.
boys. Like a lot of that starts, and they carry it into manhood. And even with regard to the relationship, I try to be as impartial as possible, but lack of communication is what can exacerbate a lot of situations. Everybody think they're doing the best thing in a relationship, but a lot of time we don't even know what's going on. Especially with men, we don't feel like we can tell you necessarily. So, and Hannah, you did a great job with that relationship. That's one of my favorite parts of the film, the
Thank you.
interaction between husband and wife.
Yeah, you did a great job, girl.
Yes, he
Thank
did.
you. I appreciate that very much.
Great
Thank you.
job. Great job. Well, thank y'all again for being here with us today. Hopefully, we could bring y'all back when the next film comes out. Hannah, thank you. Let everybody know where they can find you as well.
My social media handle is Hannaha Hall, my first and last name, HANNAHAHALL. My first name's spelled a little weird, so make sure y'all put that A in there at the end. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
For the longest, I thought her name was Hanaya.
And I was like, man, I'm about to say this girl name wrong.
But Bree, she let me call her Hanaya for like a whole month before she corrected me. I felt so
It
bad.
was not, I'm not.
It's like she's like
Yeah, it's
Hanaya.
Hannah though. I guess the A is silent. We gonna blame my mama,
The A is
mamas.
silent. I love it. I love it. Well, thank y'all again for being a part of the live stream today. We wish y'all the best. And like I said, send us everything y'all want us to help support. Anything that's going on in the city, surrounding the city, we would love to help support.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. See y'all later.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, what's up? What's the word?